The simple past tense is fairly straightforward. This is your was or were in the to be form of the verb. Well, when you're saying the state of being, that it was certain way at some time in the past, or if it's an action, that's the did form of the verb, that you did something, some action happened. So we're talking about events in the past. It has to be, of course, something that's already in the past, and it has to be something that's completely finished. It's done and over with. It's also used when the time is stated. It means explicitly, it says yesterday or last week or last year. It tells you exactly when that event took place, or it is understood. So even if I don't say yesterday, somewhere when the conversation began, I mentioned yesterday, or without even saying it, you know when it happened. And so it is understood by both the speaker and the listener, and that's when past tense will be used. Also, for historical events, past tense will be used. So let's look at an example. The events in the past. An example sentence like, she met her husband in 2010. So the time is specifically stated, and this is definitely in the past, so we'll use the past tense of meet, which is met. She has met her husband in 2010. Could you do this? We know that has met is our present perfect, okay? Present perfect tense. And that is used when the time is not stated. So this would be incorrect to say that she has met her husband in 2010. If you took out the in 2010, then you can say she has met her husband. She has met her husband many times. I don't know if that makes perfect sense in that context, but that timing is important. Action that is completely finished. So it could be over a long period of time, but it has to start in the past and also end in the past. So our sentence here says, she worked as a teacher for 5 years in the 1980s. So for 5 years tells you that it's a long period of time. And remember in the when we were talking about the present perfect tense, the word for often signals present perfect tense that something has happened over a long period of time, but that's in cases when on the timeline, if the event for 5 years is coming all the way to today, then that's for 5 years. In this case, it tells you that it happened in the 1980s. So if it happened in 1980s, this is on the timeline. Here we are at point C. The event began in the past, and it went on for 5 years, but it also ended in the past. So this whole period of time we would consider as one specific time period. So it is an action that is completely finished, and so this sentence requires a past tense that she worked as a teacher. Also in cases when time is stated or understood. So, in the first sentence, we have Trump was elected, in the past tense, as the 45th president. And this happened in 2017, or the election took place in 2016. And if we all know that it took place in 2016, and most of us do, both the speaker and the listener know when it took place, so it is understood without having to say it explicitly. The second sentence says the presidential inauguration took place in January, and also January of 2017. We would know it is understood, or we could say that January is the part that tells you explicitly when it took place. And the last category to look at is historical events. Of course, events of history or things of ancient past, all done and over with, and we know that it started and ended all in the past. In those cases, we would definitely use the past tense, such as World War II ended in 1945. That's just a historical fact. How about dinosaurs? We're talking about millions of years ago. We would say that dinosaurs roam the earth millions of years ago, and in the past tense, it's all kind of historical event over the history of the earth. So in terms of our tense diagram, it is the did form that tells you the time reference. There's got to be a specific time reference mentioned in the sentence or understood by the context. Usually it's a specific point in time, but remember that specific point in time can be a long period of time that begins at the past but also ends at the past. It is completely done and over with.